Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Yesterday, Mike Williams signed with the New York Jets. Jeudy got a contract extension with the Cleveland Browns, and there's some stuff going on today involving some pro days that we're going to talk about as well. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome in, everyone. Good to see you all in the chat this morning. Good morning to you. Welcome in. I already see a couple questions. I already see a few questions. Let's just go ahead and answer them. Any chance the Vikings trade for Justin Herbert? I would be shocked if Justin Herbert is on the trade block. I know that the Chargers are kind of making moves, gutting out this team, but one thing you never get rid of is a franchise quarterback, and I don't think Jim Harbaugh goes into the Chargers not wanting a quarterback. So I think that Justin Herbert is basically guaranteed to stay in Los Angeles. I really doubt that he moves on. I know the Vikings need a quarterback and the Chargers are kind of cleaning house, but I don't think Justin Herbert's going to be a part of that. But as the Harry Snowman says, I suppose there's always a chance. Things can change fast. So we'll see, but I doubt it on that regard. The next one is, are the Cowboys the first team to draft a running back? And this seems very, very likely. Maybe not the first, but they're definitely drafting a running back early for sure. I would almost guarantee it at this point. If they're not going to invest in a running back in free agency, they're definitely going to do it in the draft, leaving Tony Pollard, letting him go to Tennessee, basically. That kind of guarantees what the Cowboys are doing in this year's draft. And I think it's going to be Jonathan Brooks, which I think would be pretty special. And Bearded Prince says that they might pick up Dobbins. Dobbins is a name that's floating around. That's a good idea for an episode tomorrow, maybe. Just kind of talk about these guys that are hanging around still, the leftovers, if you will, the Tyler Boyds and J.K. Dobbins of the world. What's going on with those guys? We should check in on them. Let's check in on them tomorrow. Either way, we've got some news for you today to talk about. And we'll start with the Mike Williams contract. Yesterday on this show, we talked about how he's visiting with some teams this week. Turns out he's not even going to finish all the visits, as he's just going to sign with the Jets. He met with them yesterday. Must have gone really well, as they signed him to a one-year contract worth up to $15 million. And yesterday, when we kind of talked about the potential teams that he was visiting with this week, I said that I liked the Jets as a landing spot. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to get another wide receiver on that team for Aaron Rodgers to help Garrett Wilson out as well, just with opening up the field. I did feel that they should go a bit younger. But upon second thought and just kind of looking at this contract, I think that this is a really good move for them. I really, really do. Mike Williams, of course, has struggled with health over his career, but not as much as it really seems. I went back and looked at his game logs, and yeah, last year he had the torn ACL, only played 3 games, and in 2022 only played 13 games. But other than that, 16 games in 21, 15 games in 2020, 15 games in 2019, 16 games in 2018. I mean, the guy has actually been a lot more healthy than I remember when I kind of think about it. And I know some of those games are weird ones where he didn't play all the snaps or was not targeted as much. I know there's definitely been some weird games from Mike Williams in his career. But I think that this is a solid landing spot for him. 29 years old. Going to an offense to where he's still going to be able to be the big play guy and open up the field for the rest of the weapons on this Jets team. And I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is going to love throwing the ball to Mike Williams. I guess the big question there is how much of Aaron Rodgers' arm is still left. He's now 40, coming off an Achilles tear. We'll see how that goes, but I think that Mike Williams will certainly help. Doesn't hurt at all. And the fact it's only a one-year contract and only worth up to $15 million, that's actually not too bad for a wide receiver in today's market, especially when we take into account that a lot of this is going to be incentives. I doubt he even gets like 10 million really at the end of the day. But either way, solid contract for him. I'm pretty excited to see what happens. If he can stay healthy, I really wouldn't be surprised if he finishes as like at least a wide receiver 3. I mean, we see the big plays from him time and time again. He actually leads the NFL in yards per reception since 2018, which is a really, really good metric. And, you know, we've seen a 1,000-yard, 9-touchdown season from him just a few seasons ago. So, of course, that ceiling is there. And now he's going to an offense to where he's not really going to be a focal point. Like on the Chargers offense, yeah, there was Keenan Allen, but like Mike Williams was the one getting those designed big shots, kind of getting the main coverage as well. That's not going to be the case in New York. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see yet again, monster performances from Mike Williams next season. So not sure about buy. I haven't really looked much into the value, but if you could get him like whatever it was before this, then yeah. But otherwise, I still think Mike Williams, as we all know, no one likes rostering Mike Williams on their fantasy football team. It's kind of annoying. He always ends up getting hurt, or he always ends up putting up 3 points when you actually play him. But, in a best ball format, he's really good. If you could get him really cheap, I would say it's fine, especially if you're a win now roster, because I do think he's going to have some big games. And I'm sure, after a few weeks, we're actually probably going to be able to kind of guess when those big games are coming just based on the usage and everything. Right now, it's a little uncertain, but I really wouldn't be surprised if as the year goes on, Mike Williams ends up being a really solid fantasy football wide receiver if he stays healthy and you manage him right, like get him in the lineups on the right weeks. Curious what you guys think, though. What are you guys thinking about this Mike Williams spot? Nothing going on in the comments quite yet, but I think it's a good one. The more and more I think about it, and not too much money for the Jets either, so they're not too hurt. But a wide receiver getting a lot of money, well, actually not too much when you really look at it, and that's just kind of the interesting thing about contracts in today's NFL, is Jerry Jeudy. He's signing a 3-year extension worth up to $58 million, with 41 of it being guaranteed. Now, one thing that has been pointed out by PFF actually is the contract details aren't out, but what they do expect within this 41 million guaranteed is that actually about 13 of it is his 5th-year option that would have been guaranteed anyway. So actually, this is working out to about $28 million guaranteed over 3 seasons, which is very, very cheap for wide receivers. So I know that this seemed like a really big deal, and he's still getting paid more than probably what he's produced for. But the Cleveland Browns are kind of betting on the potential here with Jerry Jeudy, especially with everyone getting older around him and Deshaun Watson needing some more weaponry around him. So I think it's a solid signing. And even at the most expensive, it's not too bad, especially if he hits what he can hit, being a former first-round pick, a really good route runner from Alabama. We could see Jerry Jeudy reach some of those incentives, but he's probably more so staying right around his guaranteed money, which is around $41 million again, or 28, depending on how you look at it, if the 5th-year option is actually included in that number. But that's actually not too much. Like, it really isn't. That's actually less money than Courtland Sutton makes, and right about what Gabe Davis and Darnell Mooney got from the Falcons and Jaguars, respectively, this offseason. So it seemed like a much bigger deal than it actually is when you look at these contract details, and I think it's a good signing. Like, it's when you think about it being Darnell Mooney money, I mean, Jerry Jeudy is better than Darnell Mooney. He's better than Gabe Davis. Even if we haven't seen it yet, I think we will. And that's actually what the Browns GM said, Barry. This is a quote on this, really. He was asked yesterday about why he did the extension, why they brought in Jeudy, and this is what he said. When we acquired him via trade this spring, it was with the vision that he could become a core member of our offense in 2024 and beyond. He's a scheme-versatile receiver with high-level ability to separate against man coverage and a diverse number of ways to produce on the perimeter or in the slot. We felt that the ability to add a passionate and competitive player with his combination of strengths would be an important component of our offense now and in the future. At 24 years old, just entering his prime, we are pleased to have Jerry as a member of the Browns for the next several seasons and believe the best is yet to come. I'm with him too. I mean, I hate this landing spot for him, mostly because I still don't know if Deshaun Watson's ever going to be Deshaun Watson. But I do still think, at least in terms of what he's going to put on the football field next season, the product that he's going to put out there is going to be better than what we've seen. He still hasn't had 1,000 yards. He still hasn't crossed 6 touchdowns. And he still hasn't even been hyper efficient. Last year, his best metric, he was 14th in target separation, which is still really good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's really high up there considering how many wide receivers there are in the league. And that does kind of further bring home the point that he is a good route runner. I'm just not so sure that he's going to be able to beat out Amari Cooper for many targets, or even really David Njoku. And again, Deshaun Watson still hasn't really shown enough to show that he really can be a viable quarterback for fantasy football, at least in terms of getting his weapons fantasy points. But again, not a big contract. The faith is there from the ownership, which is exactly what you want to see. And the potential is still there for Jerry Jeudy. And all it really takes in today's NFL is an injury to happen for someone to really, really excel in terms of the stats they put out there. Like, if he does end up being the wide receiver 1 on this team next year, if something happens to Amari Cooper, I mean, the sky is definitely the limit. I just think that that's what it's going to take. Unfortunately, obviously, we don't want that to happen here. But that's just what I'm thinking when I think about him reaching his ceiling, is he's got to be the focal point. But I do think we'll see some good route running from him, some nice catches, some good yardage totals. I'm just not sure if there's much ceiling here for Jerry Jeudy, but maybe we'll get that 1,000-yard season. I think that he could get like 1,050, right? Like right over 1,000, but not much more. I think that's maybe what we can hope for. Maybe not this season, but next. But either way, yeah, that's the contract. Harry Snowman says Jeudy is dust, and $41 million for practically no production is fair Cleveland. This is definitely true. Again, we don't know. The full contract details aren't out. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up not being as bad as it looks. Like I'm going to stop overreacting to contracts because, like I said, PFF pointed out that it's possible that 13 million of this was the 5th-year option that he was already due anyway. So really, it's only $28 million guaranteed over the next 3 seasons, which really isn't too bad. And then also, again, that's about the same amount of money as Darnell Mooney. And I still think Jerry Jeudy has more potential than a Mooney even does. But yes, he is now a project that is bouncing around the league. So anyway, and yes, Watson is throw up emoji. Good one, the freak. Good one. I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. So that's Jerry Jeudy and Mike Williams. I've only got a couple more stories for you guys. Kind of a slow news day, and I'm also feeling a little under the weather, so couldn't get the biggest show sheet together for you guys. But we're here. We're talking football, and I want to talk about Trent Brown going to the Bengals. They've signed him to a 1-year deal. This is really great news for what the Bengals can do in the draft. As we talked about yesterday, Daniel Jeremiah had them drafting an offensive lineman. Now they don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, they still could. I know Trent Brown has had some injury concerns and is up there in age, but I'd like to see the Bengals draft Brock Bowers or something like that. I would like to see a fun draft pick come in instead of just the typical O-line. Like, yeah, it's a good move, but bringing in Trent Brown, I think, enables them to be a little bit more fun with their draft pick. And Trent Brown has actually, yes, he's had the health concerns. He's only reached 600 snaps in 4 of the last 5 seasons. But even last year with the New England Patriots, he finished with the 11th highest PFF grade and allowed the 2nd lowest one-on-one pressure rate, both of those coming from PFF, which are both really, really good metrics when you're looking at production from an offensive lineman. We've seen Trent Brown be good throughout his entire career. He's got really good size. If he can stay healthy, this is really, really good for the Cincinnati Bengals. They already have Orlando Brown on the other side, Trent Brown now on the right tackle, and he can move around. Like, he's not just a right tackle. So I think that this really helps the offensive line. I think this really helps Joe Burrow. I think this really helps Jamar Chase. I think that this helps the running back room as well. I mean, offensive line getting better is only a good thing. I'm sure they'll still address it a little bit more given Trent Brown's injury history and age, but still really solid signing, and excited to see the Bengals next year, and really, really hope that Joe Shiesty can return to Joe as we miss him. We miss him so much. I love Joe Burrow so much, and I need him out there on the field, and I need him to stay healthy. So thank you, Bengals, for getting Trent Brown. Put that man in bubble wrap. Put that man in bubble wrap. Which brings us to someone who is in bubble wrap, Marvin Harrison Jr. He is not participating at today's Ohio State Pro Day. In fact, this was kind of crazy to me. No general manager or head coach will be present at Ohio State's Pro Day from the NFL. I'm sure that there'll still be like a college coach or whatever there. But either way, no one is interested in the Ohio State Pro Day with the news that Marvin Harrison Jr. will not be participating. We will have absolutely 0 workout metrics for Marvin Harrison Jr., which does mean in Superflex leagues, we could see a slip from him in the draft. In the rookie draft, in rookie drafts, just because people like those workout metrics, especially you guys here at Player Profiler. I know that you're going to playerprofiler.com and looking at those bar graphs, seeing how the workout metrics are forming, and to not see that for Marvin Harrison Jr. does suck. But I'm here to tell you guys, it does not matter. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an elite prospect. He's a very good wide receiver, and he will be fine. And I hope he slips in rookie drafts because I don't have any early picks. I really don't. And I would like to be able to trade, say, like the 104. Could be great if everyone just goes quarterback, or even like the 3 if someone wants to, go quarterback. But, before this process, Marvin Harrison Jr. was arguably going 101 with Caleb Williams. Now it's a lock that it's Caleb Williams. And now we're arguing that he could maybe be the 102, maybe the 103, maybe the 104, which is very, very good for people who have held on to their non-101 rookie draft picks. You're still going to want to take Marvin Harrison Jr. He's still a stud. Who cares that he didn't go to the combine? And who cares that he's not working out at the pro day? All that matters is what he's put on tape, and what he's put on tape is excellent. So MHJ, enjoy the day off, right? Like that's all I can say to him. Which leads me to someone who will not be taking the day off. That is JJ McCarthy. And this guy has been going all over the place. As we talked about yesterday, the hype is really building. And in Daniel Jeremiah's recent mock draft, they had JJ McCarthy going 4th overall to the Vikings, trading up with the Cardinals. I still think that's ridiculous. I really would be surprised if JJ McCarthy gets drafted that high. And I'm starting to just feel like this is just like Will Levis last year, where this guy gets hyped up for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and still gets really high draft capital, but not that top 5, top 10 draft capital that some were suggesting. But he is visiting with a lot of these top teams, which is, of course, what Will Levis did last year, of course, also. I mean, the teams that are looking for a quarterback, spoiler alert, are going to look for a quarterback. And part of that is going to dinner, having him tour your facilities, yada, yada, yada. They're doing their homework. It doesn't mean anything. Yes, JJ McCarthy visited with the Giants last week, got dinner with the front office, and toured the facility. Yes, the Commanders are flying out to Ann Arbor tomorrow to get dinner with JJ McCarthy before his pro day on Friday. But again, that's just teams doing their homework. Could he get drafted by them? Sure. Will he get drafted by them? I don't know, but I also don't really think so. I still think that JJ McCarthy is a good quarterback. Again, I'm the JJ McCarthy defender, but I do think top 5 draft capital is a bit too far for him. He's going to be a project. He's really young too. I mean, he's only 21 years old, which is really young for a quarterback. I know he's, of course, grounded as he talks about walking the field with his bare feet before the games and everything. But still, I don't know. I don't see him as a top 10 prospect. And this is the guy I'm writing about for the Player Profiler Rookie Guide. I've got JJ McCarthy. I'm a Michigan fan. I think he's a very good quarterback with a very high floor. I just don't think the ceiling is there. And I do think he's going to be a little bit more than a project than some of this hype is suggesting. Like, he's going to take a little bit of time. He needs to get used to his weapons. He needs the offense to work well around him and for him. And so that's why I don't think he's going to get drafted that high. But again, teams doing the homework and the hype is there. So there we go. Are we using Will Levis as the measure for fantasy bust? No, that is not what I meant at all. So sorry if that is how it came across. What I'm saying is last year, Will Levis was projected to be the second quarterback taken above CJ Stroud because of media hype. What ended up happening is he was the first pick in the second round. And what I'm saying is that is probably what's going to happen with JJ McCarthy is he gets all this hype to go as like a top quarterback pick, but ends up being picked, middle, late first round, maybe like top of the second. And technically with Will Levis, he was a first round pick too. He was picked 32 because the Dolphins lost their first round pick. So that's just what I'm saying when I'm comparing him to Will Levis. I don't think Will Levis is a bust by any means. I'm very excited that the Titans are investing in the passing game and giving him some extra weapons, bolstering the offensive line and getting him another pass catching running back. I'm just saying that the media overhyped Will Levis's draft capital, and I think that's what's happening here with JJ McCarthy. That's just where I'm at. But yes, that is it in terms of the news I have for you guys. Really nothing too crazy out there. We could talk about the Saints real quick. Oh, my camera unplugged. The Saints are doing my camera's just not there anymore. It's not pulling up as an option. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I don't know what happened there. Enjoy this speaking circle. I don't see any questions. I think we answered them all kind of while going live. So hopefully this is fixed for tomorrow. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This was another fun episode of Wake and Take. And I will see you all tomorrow, maybe, at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a wonderful Wednesday and a terrific rest of your week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.